Good morning, Patriots, and welcome back to another episode of the Discourse. I am your host, the lovely Brandon Sutton, the exiled Brandon Sutton. Much like a Reza Pahlavi, I have been exiled to, well, I am going to say exiled, but I have been relegated to only streaming on Twitch as the result of the firearms policy violation that I got for showing that clip of those Cubans, a social communist. Thank you for the 20 gifted subs. I appreciate it. So I'll just say at the top of the show, at least at the top of this show, even though saying it at the top of the show and repeating it throughout the show will not be enough to ensure that everyone knows. I'm gonna tell you something. No matter how many times I say what happens, there is no way to disseminate to everybody what happened, to prevent them from asking every minute what happened. But I'm going to say it. The firearms policy was violated by those Cuban chuds mishandling the guns. That being said, I can't be mad at them. I can't be mad at them because, because, for all of the death and destruction that they wrought on themselves, they did manage to take down one vaguely leftist institution, my YouTube live streaming capability. So fair play to them. That being said, it is what it is. I'll open up a ticket with YouTube tomorrow or after I stream today. I have no indication. I didn't get a strike or warning like you might imagine. I just got my ability to stream taken down intermittently, but I have no, because there's no actual strike or warning. I have no idea when it's going to go back up. So I've said all of that. People are still going to leave in the comments. What happened? I have no idea what happened. What's going on? I'm just telling you right now, so that way you know. Don't feel the need to like inform them unless you want to, but that's what happened. I think it's pretty much a AI thing. I think it's just an AI thing. I'm not waiting for an appeal or anything either because like they think the content is not something that should be on YouTube, and I can't disagree. There should not be there should not be Cuban terrorists on YouTube, but that has nothing to do with the actual, or not nothing to do, but it gives me no ability to actually directly address the lack of ability to live stream on the channel itself. So that's what happened. Everyone's still going to ask every 5 minutes. It's going to be a little annoying, but I'm gonna soldier through it because it's not the most annoying thing that happened, obviously. But yeah, I'll just upload this live stream on YouTube after and continue to do all the clips. All right. But obviously, I wanted to give it a like 24 hours because I read somewhere that this thing kind of thing. So, in case you might not know, Americans love guns, and so this kind of thing happens relatively, at least from what I was able to find online, relatively frequently. I mean, not frequently, but sometimes it happens sometimes. And so, what people have said online is that it results in like a 24 like hour live stream ban. Usually, it could be up to a week, obviously, but it's likely not going to be disabled permanently on YouTube. I'm going to open up a support to see if if I can get any indication how long it will last. But people have said that they violated it for things that you would imagine happen in America all the time, like someone's doing like a hunt live stream through the woods and they accidentally fumble their shotgun or something like Elmer Fudd, and YouTube flags that and they get like a 24-hour live stream ban. So it happens occasionally. So we'll just have to see. I'll definitely like open a ticket with support and then just see what they say. Yeah, people get Dick Cheneyed all the time. Yeah, you hate to see it. That's why it's good to have, I guess, backup. Not that I was doing Twitch as like a backup. It was more just because some people's preference is Twitch, but good to just have the ability. To be honest, I'm still feeling kind of under the weather. I think I just, like I said, had like a minor maybe flu. I had the flu, like influenza A, this time last year as well. So I went for a walk today, and it kind of winded me. I felt like Andrew Tate 2 minutes into his fight with that YouTuber. I'm sorry, not YouTuber, reality TV show star, got gassed immediately. So, I mean, I still walked for longer than he fought, but I did get gassed pretty easy. Is it only if weapons are in the stream in a specific way? Live stream, not news. Basically, it was what they told me. It is the long and short of it. Like live stream, not news. So it's basically something that's probably meant to pick up like active shooting events in the United States. I was appealing, but the appeal process was only for no. I see why there became some confusion. The appeal process is only for theoretically having that specific live video put back on. I don't care about that, obviously. But they also give you like a temporary live stream suspension if you do that, probably so you don't just like pick up right on the like active shooting with a new live stream. Oh gosh, I'm like trying my best to get this taken down too. But yeah, so I still have the ability to upload videos and everything like that, just not live stream. So I'll just open up a support ticket to see if they can give me any insight. It wouldn't surprise me if it is a 24-hour ban, but it's not like because of the way like YouTube does things, it's not like 24 like literal hours. Like I was hoping it'd be 24, like the moment you catch the live stream suspension, it's 24 hours from then. So I waited when it's probably something like the end of the next full business day is the 24 hours or something stupid like that, which is, common in situations like this. But like I said, I'll open up a ticket. Oh my God, they're gonna be like, Brandon, you're no longer allowed to live stream because you exposed YouTube audiences to those like Cubanos. I was gonna say go for a Cubano, but I ate already today. Chain yourself to the front door. I probably won't do that. I mean, I would hate to have to only stream on Twitch, but I mean, I guess we would just make it work somehow. Like the worst thing would be the people complaining at me as though I have control over it, because that would be the thing. Like people, and I mean, I understand it. Sometimes people want to like vent their frustration, but it would just be like endless number of people. You don't stream over here anymore. That's a real bummer. I would like, I can't blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I totally get that, but I have no ability to impact it. Yeah. Laura Luma's a real one. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's just temporary. But yeah, let's like, I don't know. We got such a late start today because I was hoping it would be just 24 hours. Watch it. It's probably already up right now. I would love that to be true, but that's not the case. I'll just have to go to support and plead my case to be like, Brandon's actually pretty smart. And then if not, I can lead some kind of online, I don't know, harassment campaign. No, campaign against them. But I doubt that it'll be that serious. Do. Lots of primaries reporting tonight. Yeah, that'll be fun, but I luckily won't be streaming at that time because that's kind of boring. The American elections are, tend to be kind of boring, but it depends. We'll see. We'll see. Uh, do. Well, yeah, you know what? Why don't we start light? Obviously, I'm still riled up from all the things that are trying to upset me. But why don't we just start with this story out of Austin? Because I love a little bit of a new build debacle. This is from a local Austin NBC affiliate. Austin home builder leaves behind neighborhood of half-finished homes in Georgetown. Very interested in that. I like seeing little half-finished homes. Let's see. Arrested Development is one of my favorite sitcoms, not Roseanne.
Homes built in 60 days sound too good to be true. And in Georgetown, it turns out it was.
Surprise,
a once
surprise.
promising home building startup has left dozens of homes incomplete. KXAN's Tom Miller went to visit the site with Justin Sayers from the Austin Business Journal to find out what went wrong.
Justin, what is this neighborhood and what was it supposed to be and what's happening now?
Yes, so this is a development called On Rocking Wilco. The developer Onyx Homes basically pitched this as a way to build homes faster. There was supposed to be about 1,000 homes here, when it's at full build out, but as you can see, a lot of the development has stalled and, it looks like this hasn't been touched in a while.
And for a while, Onyx Homes was supposed to be this startup darling in Austin. What's its background?
Yeah, so the company raised a bunch of money, again, to speed up the development process, especially during COVID when, there was a demand for housing. They pitched that they could build this faster than developments were at the time by basically pre-building a lot of the pieces like the rooms and then transporting them over here and putting them together. Obviously that didn't come to fruition and the company appears to not be working on this anymore.
And from what you've learned, does this company have other projects like this that are now at risk too?
Yeah, so they actually have another development nearby, just a little bit over there. That appears to be pretty done and they're selling homes in there. But other than that, they have developments in other parts of the state in Florida. What our sister paper at the South Florida Business Journal did find, though, is that they're facing a lawsuit related to one of those developments near Miami. And the company, has declined and pushed back on some of the accusations in that lawsuit. But basically, they alleged that the homes were built with a lot of deficiencies. Other than that, they've laid off a bunch of people in Florida. They're facing a ton of liens on this property. They vacated a huge lease where they were doing a lot of the pre-work here in Georgetown. It appears the company, is in trouble, at least here in Austin. They haven't responded to our comment.
Justin Sayers with the Austin Business Journal. Thank you, Justin.
Thank you so much for having me.
What a surprise. Turns out that you can't fix the issue of housing with the private industry. Who would have guessed it? I actually was going to watch this video anyway, since, obviously the current invasion of Iran by the U.S. and Israel is the topic du jour. I was going to play this video from Trump anyway, so we might as well just jump right into it. We're just running behind, so we only have enough time to just, I guess, rapid fire hit some videos. That's what you love anyway, right? So this is from ABC News. Trump offers multiple justifications for striking Iran, which, to be fair, I don't think is that particularly weird in a vacuum. We did strike Iran for multiple reasons. We struck Iran because we've always wanted to destabilize Iran. We struck Iran because they're allies with our enemies, our ostensible and real enemies like China and Russia. We struck Iran because it distracts from Trump's failures at home, not just the Epstein thing, right? Although that's probably one of them, his many failures with the economy. It pleases the right people who might be getting antsy about him because of how much he sucks in other stuff. Israel was going to do it anyway, and so we might as well put ourselves behind that as opposed to just have to look weak and out of control, So there are a lot of reasons why we did it. I mean, the only reason that is unbelievable is when it's to free Iran. And that becomes even more unbelievable when Republicans talk about freeing Iranian women from the oppression of Iranian men. We've spoken about the liberal coding of war, right? Giving that white women have to save brown women from brown men trope. But it becomes extra ridiculous when right wingers are pushing that stuff. When the Trump administration is telling you how much they value women's freedoms. I mean, sometimes they'll just be Iranian women are hot, and so I want to objectify them better, and that becomes a little bit more believable. But when the Trump administration starts talking about how much they love women and want to see them being able to vote and respected, that's an obvious lie and an obvious red flag, because his most ardent voters will tell you, they'll do whole podcasts about how women shouldn't have the right to vote. So, we know that's not the case, but let's see what other mixed messages are coming out.
This morning, a new explanation from the White House about why the U.S. started a war with Iran. The Secretary of State saying the U.S. attacks were preemptive, that Israel was going to strike Iran with or without the U.S.
We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against
Usually it's not what it
forces,
means. Oh, okay.
We knew that if we didn't preemptively go out.
That's crazy. That's a crazy use of preemptive. That's that is a crazy use of preemptive, man. Because the only analogy I could think about would be if your little brother told you that he was going to go over and attack your neighbor. And so instead of stopping him, instead of exerting control over the people that you have control over, you knew that, well, my neighbor is going to reprise against our entire family if my little brother does that. So I guess it makes the most sense to go over there right now and attack the neighbor with him together, right? That way we have the best chance of totally defeating the neighbor, as opposed to avoiding having to have a difficult conversation about our allies or about our family unit, right? So I mean, it's just preemptive. Usually when they bastardize it in American foreign policy, it's because oh no, for no reason, those people over there were going to attack us, right? For no reason, of course, being thin veneer that they put over the reasons of historical interference with their government or, shadow wars or anything like that America has gotten into in their region or in their country or wherever they're from, right? Now preemptive is like, oh, well, we're going to attack them first. And so we're going to preemptively attack them before they attack us back. So like, it's like, this is next level. We're preempting them from retaliating against us by attacking first. That's crazy.
We knew that would precipitate an attack against American forces, and we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties.
The president has insisted Iran posed an imminent threat to the U.S.
Although that doesn't seem to track with the fact that a lot of it seems like the bases where we have people stationed in the Middle East, there seem to have been, like, at least people have said, a lot of people moved from them. A lot of American soldiers and troops moved from those bases prior to the attack. So it kind of insinuates there was a lot more knowledge about like what was going to go on. It's not like this happened overnight, obviously.
The president has insisted Iran posed an imminent threat to the U.S.
The regime already had missiles capable of hitting Europe and our bases,
Israel is
both
America,
local and overseas, and would soon have had missiles capable of reaching our beautiful America.
But American intelligence
America.
agencies say Iran would not have had missiles capable of reaching the U.S. for another 9 years.
Obviously.
The president predicts the U.S. will, quote, easily prevail in this war, and is dismissing concerns that he will tire of this fight if it drags on beyond the 4 to 5 weeks that he's projected.
Somebody said today, they said, oh, well, if the president wants to do it really quickly. After that, he'll get bored. I don't get bored.
Moments
he
later,
does.
though, Trump
That guy got his
distracted by the
number.
White House decor.
I picked those drapes in my first...
Crazy.
Moments later, though, Trump distracted by the White House decor.
I picked those drapes in my first term. I always like gold.
The president isn't ruling
Okay,
out
gold
sending
member.
in U.S. troops if necessary, telling the New York Post, I don't have the yips with respect to boots on the ground. Like every president says, there will be no boots on the ground. I don't say it. As for the
What?
future of Iran, the administration with more mixed messages. The president has been urging the Iranian people to overthrow the government. But at the Pentagon, Secretary Hegseth adamant regime change was not the U.S. objective.
This is not a so-called regime change war. But the regime sure did change. And the world is better off for it.
Some of Trump's longtime supporters in the MAGA movement raising serious concerns.
It's pretty clear that we're not going to gain anything more. And how do we know that? Because no one has explained what we're there to gain.
On Capitol Hill, the top Democrat on the Senate Intelligence Committee questioning the president's justification for starting this war now.
But if we equate a threat to Israel as the equivalent of an imminent threat to the United States, then we are in uncharted territory.
No, that's how it's always
Now,
been.
the administration is set to brief the full Congress later today. Overnight, the president sent formal notification of these strikes to the Hill, but Democrats are demanding that this war be put to a vote, and the House is expected to take up a war powers resolution later this week. That would block any further U.S. military action in Iran without congressional approval. But, George, that is unlikely to become law.
Okay, Mary Bruce.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Unlikely. They want to give Trump the room to do whatever he's going to do there while not attaching themselves to it. You've seen this already. You've seen Marco Rubio kind of be real cagey on this. You've seen Vice President J.D. Vance be like, well, I wasn't in favor of this. It's because they know this is going to be unpopular. They may not know what the next move is, which is in and of itself scary, right? But it does not go against the minimum standard for success for the military industrial complex in the neocons in our government, right? Because there are people who will get rich off this, right? There's the military industrial complex who just wants endless war. They build these bombs, and when you build all these bombs, you got to use them. You got to drop them on somebody. Even if they kind of don't work, you still got to drop them. Like, they demand usage, even though we know that we build them because we want to do the destabilization. And then, like I said, there are true believers. You should never never believe that everyone in the government who's pushing all of this like war is actually just a grifter. There are some people who actually, fewer probably than ever before, but there are definitely people who still have their hands on the levers of power who believe that the world is safer when America is just doing stuff like this, destabilizing our enemies, preventing them from having free access or free flow of goods. They just think the world is safer this way. And of course they, team up with the military industrial complexers because they complement each other's goals and wants and everything. But generally speaking, our government is ruled by a conglomeration of those two. And obviously neoliberals are baked into that pie. But for the purposes of this particular conversation, the military industrial complex and the neocons want this, right? But a lot of those people also know that it's a political poison pill. And so if they have any aspirations of any other office after this, and I'm talking about the Trump administration officials, although you're seeing this from Democrats who are like kind of against it. You're seeing it from European leaders who are kind of against it. You're seeing this, but you're used to seeing this sort of stuff from like the liberals who are pro-war. This, I'm kind of against it because it hasn't met the like threshold of procedural legitimacy yet. But when it comes to the people who are directly implicated in this, like the Trump administration, they're running from this already because Marco Rubio still has presidential aspirations. JD Vance still has presidential aspirations. And this is going to kill a lot of Americans. If we put boots on the ground, well, apparently some Americans have already died. Whether or not we'll ever have a full accounting of how many Americans have died already is just part of the problem. Same thing that happened in Iraq, which is that America's military might is real in some instances. You can't spend as much money on the military as we do without having a lot of guns. The reality, though, is that it's probably not to the degree that you would expect if you had invested as much money in it without all of the grift and graft that's a part of our military industrial complex. And so very likely, if we were to go to, boots on the ground in in Iran, sorry, I forgot which illegal war I was talking about in the Middle East for a second. If we were to go boots on the ground in Iran, it would be a disaster. Tons of soldiers would die. There'd be no coalition of the willing this time because Trump actively just insulted them a few weeks ago. And then they got mad because they helped with our illegal war in Iraq and Afghanistan. So you probably wouldn't get as much direct help from the European countries. They would still give, their backroom help. They'd still provide you with surveillance information and help you with those sorts of things, but nothing that they would have to like legitimately sign their name to. And then you would just get those images, right? Because now we live in the world of mass media where it's harder than ever to hide things. Unless those things are my YouTube live stream, then it's really easy to hide those things. No, I can't be churlish. I can't get myself upset. It will give me like a heart palpitation. So no, but it'll be harder than ever to hide the fact that this American victory is coming at the cost of American lives. Now, what would that mean long term? It certainly wouldn't mean an entire depowering of the right wing in America because they've been very good at convincing people that Trump is, Trump and only his most allied forces are responsible for Trumpism in any long-term, like direct sense. Everyone else is, kind of absolvable because they're just part of the machine that existed before Trump. And, we can't just make everyone go down with the ship. So it is what it is on that front. But the people who are directly implicated, like the Marco Rubios, the JD Vances, once those like coffins with the American flag start piling up, they're going to look real bad in the next Republican primary debate. And that, further compromised JD Vance because they're already compromised by nature of being part of the Trump administration, part of the Epstein cover-up, part of the already going to war with Iran. That's going to be a non-starter probably in the next Republican primary debates without some kind of real argument that you weren't involved, right? Especially if, the next Republican primary debates that matter are 2032 because 2028 is a lost cause because of Trump anyway. And the next one that matters is after another 6 years, if possible. Because if we went to war, boots on the ground in Iran, we'd be there for a very long time. We would still be in our occupation phase in 6 years if we actually go in to invade Iran. And that would be a big shadow over the 2032 election. And obviously Democrats would have been stewards of that war. They would have adopted ownership of that war, which would make them unpopular now at this point. And so Marjorie Taylor Greene would just come in, scoop the nomination right up, be your president. Because she's already spoken out against this. She absolved herself of power before it even came down to this. It would just be a done deal. So everyone's running away from this. You can tell how unpopular it is. It's probably unpopular in Israel too, except for like with the most bloodthirsty Zionists who have no self-preservation now. But
thanks very much.
You're welcome. You know what? Let's hear more from President Garfield. Orange, not President, like Garfield, about this. I think he has another little thing here. Let's see. No, this is the same clip. Okay, yeah. Let's try this France 24 English. It's fresh.
Well, we're going to talk a bit more.
This war will only be incredibly popular in Israel. I see Affably Trill's comment. This war will only be incredibly popular in Israel until it actually starts meaningfully impacting their day-to-day life. You know what? No, I should definitely do some chats before I play this next clip. We've shitified the military. Well, war has always been a racket, right? You know that famous quote, war is a racket. But it's still hard for people to wrap their heads around because of how like aggressive militarily and how much the world has been destabilized by America that, you know, because you put $1 trillion into the military, even though people know this too, like, but there are so many disconnects in people's heads about like, you know, the American project when it comes to like quality versus like the amount of money we waste on it because of like the cope they have to involve themselves in. If we put $1 trillion into the military budget, there's no way we get out $1 trillion returns. Like you know, you guys know that. You guys know why the Pentagon can't pass their budget, right? It's not because, they're putting all of this money into time travel and they don't want us to see it. It's because, they're funneling all this money to CEOs and they don't want us to see it. You know, they're putting our soldiers. They're putting our soldiers in the fields with like body armor that is comprised of like, you know, those kind of wafer cookies that have the cream in between them, right? So it's because of stuff like that. It's not because of like the DARPA dark projects. Those would just not be on the budget. Those are just not on the budget, obviously. So like it's just so you don't see the graft going on. Let's see. So many people fleeing Israel right now. That's just because of all the, you know, the touching. One of the issues in Israel is that any people that would be anti-war leave Israel to North America or EU, so the population becomes more hardline due to immigration. That's true. That's a distillation effect. They also have like the reality of in their minds being, they also are at this point too like a explicitly ethno-nationalist country that is allowed, and that's always going to allow you to engage in a type of propagandizing of your population that to the outside world we'd otherwise look at as being like kind of like unallowable, right? And it's just because of the unique nature of their relationship with the United States and then with the West. Like, you know, they're an ethno-nationalist, religious, fundamentalist country. Very few of those countries we have very fond opinions of if they aren't, you know, American, or if they aren't American allies, like Saudi Arabia. Like, you know, we treat the kind of irrationality of Israel in terms of their militarism as just like, that's just a normal way you should be. But North Korea is treated as being like just out of norm because of the proximity of their relationship to the United States of America. All right, let's watch this clip from France 24 English. War in the Middle East, Trump faces backlash as in-game undefined. Well, I mean, again, I want to emphasize that I think the end game is being undefined is not necessarily because like the win conditions can't be met. I just think that for the vast majority of the people, the win condition of we're just going to destabilize that region and leave it to like warlords to pick over because that'll make it harder for our, you know, global enemies to effectively, trade with them, trade for their resources that we don't want them to have. That's just not an attractive like answer. So, I mean, I just think that's the, you know, ultimate goal. Like I said, Trump is just not sophisticated. The United States is just not in a place where they have the soft power ability or like the internal allies in Iran or Venezuela to take over the government. And so like destabilization, kidnapping, it's all the same. It gets the goal, you know, it gets the ultimate goal achieved.
Well, we're going to talk a bit more about what the U.S. is looking for, hoping to do in this operation now with France 24's Douglas Herbert, who joins me on set. Doug, the U.S. intensifying their attacks, also intensifying its messaging.
Yeah, now that the war is on, they have to get their message straight. And so far, they've actually been all over the place. While they would vehemently deny it and say we're very much on message, know exactly what we're doing, fact of the matter is the base, the MAGA base, there have been a lot of frictions, a lot of ructions, and a lot of pushback, especially among the MAGA influencers in the U.S., who are highly critical of what they believe that they just don't believe that there had been a convincing or a compelling argument really made so far for why the U.S. is at war. Remember, Donald Trump famously campaigned on an America First agenda about putting an end to the forever wars, not repeating what he saw as the catastrophic mistakes of his weak and loser predecessors who took the U.S. into these endless conflicts. He wasn't going to be that type of president. And now, lo and behold, the fear is, among some in his base, not all, that he is. Now, let's be very clear. Donald Trump's diehard supporters, nothing has significantly changed. They are still his diehard supporters. He still has that core of support. But he's very cognizant. He and the administration are cognizant that there seems to be these ructions I was talking about. So Caroline Leavitt, for instance, the White House press secretary, was very much out there, a long post that she put up there on social media, pushing back at those in the MAGA base, the MAGA influencers who have been critical of the Trump administration's behavior, their actions so far in this now 72-hour war that is intensifying and building up, as you said. So when I say that the messaging has been all over the place, Jeannie, I literally mean it. Yesterday, after, there had been, Trump had sort of been on the sidelines following that weird in the middle of the night video he released, finally appeared at the White House. So you saw Trump in one day at the White House. You saw, meanwhile, J.D. Vance, who is famous for being fiercely opposed in the past to Iran wars and wars of any kind. He was a real MAGA America First type. He went on to Fox News, sort of trotting out the administration line, but not with that much enthusiasm. It wasn't really him speaking. He was really repeating Trump's line. Trump, after all, is his boss. You had Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State. He was on Capitol Hill yesterday, alongside also the House Speaker, Mike Johnson, and they were also trying to message. Everyone's trying to hunker down, double down on the positive message. They all know what they're doing, but do they? Because the messages, depending on who you spoke to, and Trump himself was all over the media. I think there were 19 different media phone calls and call-ins with different news outlets yesterday, during which the message varied according to who was being spoken to at what time. So either the war was about regime change, or the war was about giving the people of Iran the power to rise up and free themselves and claim their own government. Or the war was about nuclear weapons, right? Remember that? The war was maybe going to be 2 days, 3 days, or the war was going to be 4 or 5 weeks. So literally, not figuratively, the messaging has been very dispersed. Now, obviously, they're trying to get it more coherent. You can bet that in the next 24, 48 hours, even as things probably remain chaotic in the Middle East, they're going to try to get at least more on the same page, more of a coherent message. But I do think it's significant that J.D. Vance has sort of been the outlier there, very much opposed to wars and not as much out there pushing through the message. I'm sure he'll be on the same page, too, on the same wavelength. But it's been very clear to anyone paying attention that the messaging has been all over the place, and they're trying to get their story together post facto, trying to build a coherent narrative to what seems to be a very chaotic operation.
So given all of that, and given, of course, that this is an election year in the United States, how is all of this going down with Trump's base so far?
Not well. What I mean by not well, it's not hitting well, it's not landing well. Like I said, many in the base, if they're not explicitly saying it, in the back of their minds, for many of them, they're thinking, did I vote for this? Was this the America First platform? So like I said, let's be very clear here. No, they're not abandoning Donald Trump. Donald Trump still has the support. Yes, most of the Republicans in Congress will continue.
I mean, I just think that we have to be careful and when we describe like the MAGA base, because a lot of things get obscured when it comes to voter mentality by our two-party system, right? And Donald Trump is actively trying to manipulate that and perceptions of his victory by insinuating that the vast majority of people who voted for him are like hardcore MAGA fans. I would say that certainly there is a core of Trump supporters, like, of Republicans who are Trump supporters, who are so irrational that they would vote for like a cardboard cutout of Donald Trump. over any other candidate. But I think the number of those people is vastly overrated and overestimated. I think that there are a lot more people who view Trump as a suitable grifter avatar, who, whether or not you're an alpha male podcaster who knows that the video with him in it will get a ton of viewers, whether or not you're a cultural Republican, whether or not you're somebody who just like you're unsatisfied with Joe Biden. There are only two choices. There's Joe Biden's black vice president, who you're probably a little racist about, but who also the Joe Biden administration did not really set up during their presidency, or in the aftermath of him dropping out, did not really set up for success, right? And so in the absence of any other, like in, our society, legitimate choice, you're going to end up coming to like Donald Trump. But what Donald Trump wants you to believe is that 90% of the country who voted for him, even, which is still not even like the majority of the country, or the majority of adults in the country even, are like diehard Trump supporters. And that means that everything he does has their approval. We've already seen that Trump's approval is like low. Generally, it's low. With independents and obviously Democrats, it's the lowest. And with Republicans, it's still positive, right? But that's due to a lot of factors that relate to people's identity not being able to open up about what Republicans are and stuff like that. Not so much Donald Trump. I think Donald Trump is like hemorrhaging support. He's like hemorrhaging support, and not just because of Iran. Like I said before, I think Iran might be the straw that breaks the camel's back on this one for some people. But it's been an endless deluge of failures. But those people should have expected that. That's why that, Fell for It Again award account is going real popular on Twitter, because there are so many reasons why you should not have believed anything Trump said, right? It's just at this point not legitimate to be tricked by him. He's already been president before. He's already done stuff like this before. That you can't say that it's reasonable to be tricked by Donald Trump. Certainly you can say it's common, but common, I think we have to agree, is not necessarily the same thing as reasonable, especially in a time where there are so many ways in which people have been taught to be bigoted or have like irrational thought processes in the United States to justify the system that rules over them. So I mean, he's hemorrhaging support, not necessarily over Iran. How much support he even has versus how much support is just like the residual smell of a fart after the person who has left the room. Who's to say? I think in general, like, we're going to see a lot of that play out in the midterms, which is not a huge insight, where we may not see it represented in him, right? Because people are going to represent their dissatisfaction with Trump, whether they're big fans of his or not, in the people who are not Trump.
To pay fealty to Donald Trump and mark in lockstep with his agenda and will not oppose him. But in the back of their minds, there are these thoughts, and there are signs that among the broader American populace especially, there are a lot of, if you will, reservations. I will note that CNN in the U.S. took a poll just over the weekend following the initiation of hostilities. I want to just give our viewers a few of the findings of it because it's fascinating. 59% of all Americans disapprove of the attack. 60% of Americans don't believe Donald Trump has a clear plan for handling the situation. 62% say Trump should get congressional approval, 62% for any further military action. 27% think that Trump did not make enough of an effort at diplomacy before launching strikes. Those are just some numbers. Now, yes, you'll say that's the broad American populace. Obviously, it includes a lot of Democrats who can't stand Donald Trump. If you look more broadly at Republicans, sure, more Republicans by a vast margin will approve and do approve of what Donald Trump is doing, whether blindly or not, willfully, coherently. 77% of Republicans do approve. Might that change? Sure, it might. These are early days, literally, not because I'm saying it. Donald Trump says it. He says that the biggest actions are yet to come, which would imply yet more uncertainty lying ahead. Anyone who tells you today that they know what's in store in the next day, next week, even the next month, is probably making it up and winging it. So watch this space as American public opinion. It is volatile, it's on a tripwire, and it could change on a dime.
Doug, thanks for that. France 24's Douglas Herbert.
Sorry, I don't know why the mute didn't come off. I do want to get to the Clinton stuff, but maybe not today. Not today, since we are running on a truncated schedule. Let's see. What should we do next then? Yeah, let's watch this clip about the new information that's come out about the strikes between U.S. and Israel and Iran. This is from ABC News as well.
We begin tonight here with the
Trust
breaking
the
news,
force.
the U.S. military operation in Iran. The Pentagon now confirming 6 American troops have been killed after Iran attacked a tactical operations center in Kuwait. And tonight, the dramatic images coming in, an F-15 American fighter jet seen falling from the sky, one of 3 hit by friendly fire over Kuwait, struck by Kuwaiti defense systems, all 6 crew members ejecting safely. U.S. Central Command releasing new images tonight saying B-1 bombers struck deep inside Iran, targeting the regime's ballistic missile capabilities. Explosions rocking Tehran for a 3rd day now, black smoke seen rising from buildings. More than 1,200 targets reportedly hit in 48 hours. Iran tonight expanding its retaliation, an oil facility in Saudi Arabia among the new targets. At least 11 countries have now been pulled into this war. Late today, Secretary of State Marco Rubio briefing lawmakers, offering a new explanation in front of the cameras about why the U.S. struck Iran when it did. President Trump making his first public comments from the White House today, saying he's not ruling out American troops on the ground in Iran if necessary. ABC's chief foreign correspondent Ian Pannell leading us off from the region again tonight.
Tonight, the U.S. death toll rising as the war against Iran escalates. The Pentagon now confirming 6 American service members have been killed after an Iranian attack on a tactical operations center in Kuwait. At least 18 more service members have been seriously wounded in this operation, as the U.S. now says it's sending more forces into the region. President Trump saying he's not ruling out U.S. forces on the ground. And of the operation, he says the biggest wave is coming soon. In his initial words after the attack, the president talking about regime change, but during his first public comments at the White House today, offering this rationale for attacking Iran.
An Iranian regime armed with long-range missiles and nuclear weapons would be an intolerable threat to the Middle East, but also to the American people.
Low energy.
Our country itself would be under threat.
And late today, Secretary of State Marco Rubio and the evolving message, now saying Israel was about to attack Iran and that the U.S. attacked to defend itself from Iran's potential retaliation.
There absolutely was an imminent threat, and the imminent threat was that we knew that if Iran was attacked, and we believed they would be attacked.
I'm hearing it for the second time in 30 minutes, I guess. And it's still so crazy to say it like this. It is so wild to try to use this excuse.
They would immediately come after us. And we were not going to sit there and absorb a blow before we responded. Obviously, we were aware of Israeli intentions and understood what that would mean for us.
So stop Israel. Why didn't you attack Israel?
The operation could last several weeks, but signaling it could go even longer.
Whatever the time is, it's okay. Whatever it takes, we will always...
Yeah. He's not going to live to see it,
we
so it's
have
fine.
right from the beginning,
20 years,
we
that's fine.
projected 4 to 5 weeks, but we have capability to go far longer than that.
Video posted online showing just how dangerous that mission is. A U.S. warplane on fire, spiraling out of control. One of 3 U.S. F-15 fighter jets shot down over Kuwait by friendly fire. The pilots safely ejecting.
You're safe.
All 6 survived. And tonight, the Pentagon releasing a detailed timeline of how the attack unfolded. At 3:38 Eastern, Friday afternoon, President Trump giving the green light while on a visit to Texas.
The president directed, and I quote, Operation Epic Fury is approved.
Gosh, Operation Epic Fury. Doesn't that just fill you with such a sense of pride for your country and your armed forces? Imagine dying in Operation Epic Fury. There's no way you go to heaven if you die in Operation Epic Fury. If you die in Operation Epic Fury, you get isekai to the lowest level of isekai world. you get like isekai to like one of those ones where the animation is just terrible, like Greed and Gluttony or something like that. Like you do not go to heaven or Valhalla or the Elysian Fields. You go to like the, I got reincarnated as a vending machine full of panties after being shot down in Kuwait by friendly fire. Like that's the kind of lifestyle you're living after this.
Aborts, good luck.
Also, this is the general who's named after a fast food franchise in America, General Raising Cane.
Directed, and I quote, Operation Epic Fury is approved. No aborts, good luck, close quote.
The Pentagon saying the US first knocked out Iran's defense and radar systems, crippling their ability to see, communicate and respond. Then at 1:15 Eastern Saturday morning, 9:45 a.m. Tehran time, the US and Israel launching major combat operations. A first wave of more than 100 warplanes sweeping in, bombing targets.
This was a daylight strike based on a trigger event conducted by the Israeli Defense Forces, enabled by the U.S. intelligence community.
That trigger event, sources say, was based on CIA and Israeli intelligence. When officials learned Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Khamenei was above ground in his office meeting with top officials Saturday morning, the timing of the attack was moved up. The CIA had been tracking the Ayatollah for months, down to his daily routine. The White House releasing images of President Trump monitoring.
Yikes. My man does not look good.
The attack in real time from Mar-a-Lago. The president today saying the Ayatollah was having breakfast at the time of the attack and thought he was safe because it was broad daylight. Trump says 49 leaders were killed in the strike, the Ayatollah's wife reportedly among the dead. The US striking more than 1,200 targets in the first 48 hours. Explosions ripping through neighborhoods in Tehran. B-2 stealth.
The hat's because they didn't get his hair ready. They couldn't get his hair ready at the time. Like, you know how sometimes, and this is not meant to like, it just is what it is. But do you know, like sometimes ladies, when they have to draw on their eyebrows, like if they don't have time, they'll like wear a hat, they'll wear glasses, they'll like do anything that distract from the fact that they don't want to draw on their eyebrows when they go to the store. That like a lot of men are like that with their bald stuff too. And that's what, Trump was doing here. He was like doing a hat because he didn't want to draw on his hair.
Bombers dropping 2,000-pound bombs on underground facilities. The strikes targeting Iranian ballistic missile capabilities, their missile launchers, fighter jets. Multiple Iranian Navy ships attacked, sinking into the water. Iran's Revolutionary Guard headquarters destroyed. US B-1 long-range bombers taking off in the darkness, striking missile systems deep inside Iran. Iran unleashing a deadly barrage of missile and drone attacks on US bases and countries in the region. Retaliation for the supreme leader's assassination. Iran says hundreds have been killed in US-Israeli attacks. That a school and a hospital have been hit. Qatar now saying it shot down 2 Iranian bombers. The first report of Iran sending warplanes into Qatar's airspace, an ominous sign this war is widening. Tonight, Secretary Pete Hegseth addressing concerns the US might get dragged into another protracted war in the Middle East.
We didn't start this war, but under President Trump, we are finishing.
Yes, you did.
This is not Iraq.
Well, I mean, Israel
This is not
started it.
endless.
David, the president.
This is not Iraq. Remember, this is not Iraq, and I know that this is kind of a silly point, because it definitely something that Americans will understand, but it's misleading. It's not Iraq, but it is a country that has almost the exact same name as Iraq and is in a similar region. In fact, it's not Iraq though. It's worse. It's going to be worse than Iraq. But, just superficially, it seems so much like Iraq, honestly. It could not seem more like Iraq. If you were writing a parody of what happened in the United States during the run-up to the Iraq War, if you were writing like a parody or a satire, and in your story you named the country Iran instead of Iraq, they would send that story back to like the editor and go like, you can't name it that. People are going to like see exactly what you're doing right there. And so, it's going to be really hard to convince people that this is not Iraq, especially considering like the superficial similarities and the fact that like, for Americans, that's all that really matters. But, it's one of those things like, not to make a really weird analogy, but the movie Music by Sia, where superficially it seems bad, but the more you learn about it, the worse you feel about it, actually. Like, if you just watch what's happening on the surface, you're like, this is going to be a lot like Iraq. But if you know about Iran, this is going to be worse. This is going to be a lot worse than Iraq. This is going to be super worse.
Warning there could be more casualties in an operation that looks like it's going to go on far longer than initially predicted. David?
You mean we weren't greeted as liberators? You mean that it wasn't just a happy little war? Crazy. I can't believe it. Nothing like Iraq. Nothing like Iraq or Afghanistan or Vietnam or anything. Do you think that they'll tell us the number of real casualties? I don't think they will. I don't think it's 6. I think it's probably more than 6. Of course, this is just U.S. casualties. Who knows how many Arab state citizens have had to die, or citizens of these Arab countries like Qatar or Jordan or whatever have had to die, or the slaves that some of them use as labor force have had to die to protect the American U.S. empire. We'll never know, though. We'll never know. We'll never know what the true body count is. I did see that the U.S. Embassy, hold on, I'll put myself up. I will say, streaming on only one platform, it makes everything go a lot faster. That's not my way of saying that we're only going to stream on Twitch from now on. I will just say that it makes a lot of things a lot faster. So let's just, I think I saw like an embassy was attacked. He's going to have his own Benghazi moment. Embassy attacked. Brent, did you see the news? If Iran hits the desalination plants in Saudi Arabia, they will be out of water in 2 weeks. Like the whole Middle East is going to be dragged into this. I mean, yeah. Don't worry. I don't think the YouTube live stream capabilities will be down forever. Where should we watch this from? U.S. Embassy in Riyadh attacked as Iran steps up, Saudi strikes. I honestly don't care about the embassy being attacked. I wonder where else has been attacked recently. Something more. Iran strikes. Although I will say, it's nice that, it's not nice that YouTube is down, because obviously it impacts my earning capabilities. The live streams being down, the clips will still go up on YouTube, and I'm still going to upload the live stream once it's done on YouTube, but that's not to everyone's preference, obviously. But what was I going to say? Twitch is a lot less punitive in a lot of its stuff, at least on the front end. Like, I can play a lot of stuff on here without getting the stream demonetized. Yeah, the Iranian drone hit Mr. Beast World. No, I shouldn't say that. People will think I'm serious and get mad. I'm just trying to see what the latest situation with the Iranian strikes have been. Maybe just go to Al Jazeera English, Brandon. Good idea, other Brandon. Don't want to hear that. John Bolton? Why is he not in jail yet? God damn, he's old. Okay, let's see. It's kind of hard to go to Al Jazeera for this, because obviously Al Jazeera is Qatari news, and sometimes Al Jazeera just sounds like straight up CIA propaganda. So, it just goes to show you got to always be using your brain. Which is hard for me. It's just like an embassy. Okay. I think the I think I read reports that the Dubai airport is open up again. All right. I don't think that there's anything else to cover with the Iran stuff right now directly. All right. Maybe we should do some reactions. Who has some good reactions? Not you guys. I mean, you guys have good reactions, but who do you think is going to have some good reactions to the Trump strikes on Israel? I would have a good reaction to that. I'm just going to say. No. Who do you think will have good reactions, funny reactions to the Trump strikes on Iran? I know the PBD boys will. My guess, I wonder if Tim Pool is going to have a good reaction on this. I know how much you guys love Tim Pool. Even though I promised we wouldn't watch him anymore, I figure with time. Oh, by good I mean funny, not good like who's going to be critical of it. The number of people who are going to be seriously critical of it, we can list on probably two hands. The number of people who are going to be like fake critical about it, like Tucker Carlson or whatever, we can list on like probably our hands and our feet. But I mean like funny reactions that I can turn into clips. Not Thomas Massey and Rand Paul's statement are going to be like passable. Matt Walsh. I find Matt Walsh to be annoying and distracting. Oh, okay. Yeah, Tim Pool does have something. He has a whole thing just titled "It Begins." Let's hear it. I should take more reaction images. Tim Pool has a ton of reaction faces for himself. Like he has this one, like Saucy Tim. He's like Saucy Tim. He has like Evil Tim, like pensive Tim, like kind of disappointed, melancholy Tim. I don't know, like propositioned Tim, like Blue Steel, like model Tim. Like look at all these. Like Dan Bongino face Tim. Ton of them. Wow, yeah, I gotta get like. It's hard to tell how many he has because he dresses the same in all of these, like thumbnails, but. He has a ton of faces. I need to have more like mystery man. I was Mr. Men type faces. Okay, let's go to It Begins. I think his thumbnails look great. I think you can complain a lot about everything to do with Tim Pool, but I think that his thumbnail game is pretty good. I mean, I can't say better than mine because sometimes I really hit them out of the park. But I think they're perfectly reasonable.
From Reuters, top U.S. general outlines initial timeline of U.S. military operation.
Oh, boo. He's not even on here. No, I see it already. He's not even on this clip. We're not doing the... Wait, no, that's an ad, right? It's the B team, and Tim's B team is like stupid. No, we're not doing Tim B team. Sorry. I changed my mind already. Like, if it's not Tim there, then... Is he on vacation? He's on vacation this week. Tim is always like, God, he's always not working. Tim Pool debates Jay Dyer on company towns being communist. Wow. Okay. Is he the pro or anti that side? And that's boring. Okay, who else do you think has good takes? Good takes on this. I should stop saying that. 'Cause it's going to mislead you all. Let's see. Yeah, it must be nice going on all these vacations. Maybe Dan Bongino. Iran, what's next with Dan Bongino? If I can't find anybody, we're gonna have to watch Jesse Lee Peterson, and you know how you all feel about that. No her take. I'm going to be honest with you. Jesse Lee Peterson is hard for me to watch sometimes too. Although this is not about Iran. He's hard for me to watch sometimes too because he's just like so, I don't know. He's so much. Like Jesse Lee Peterson is always doing what they call Uncle Tom maxing. And it's really hard. I mean, because there's being a black creator with a predominantly white audience. That's the truth about a lot of black creators. A lot of rappers, just by nature of their metrics are that way. But, Jesse Lee Peterson is like, Yeah, ruckus maxing is what you should call it. It reaches the level of like cartoonish. But this is him defending Israel with the world's most banned comedian. Well, I don't see myself in this fucking clip. And I'm the world's most banned comedian. Now that I've been like live stream muted or whatever on YouTube. I don't know. Leonarda Joni explains why so many are blaming Israel for their problems. I can't even imagine that this is going to go in a good place. But sure. Do you think this is going to be really funny? Because if they're the world's most banned comedian, that either implies that they're really funny or not very funny at all. And when it comes to right-wing comedians, they're really, there's only one way it can go.
And so what I noticed though, now, not though, but now, there are white people who are blaming the Jews for their failure.
For the first time in history.
They can't make it because the Jews control
For the first time in
They
history.
can't make it because of this. And I tell those white people they should not be blaming like that. It's nothing wrong with disagreeing with issues if you want to disagree, but to blame, they're going to end up in the same ditch that the blacks are in because they're now blaming someone else for their lack of. What do you think about that?
So, if you know anything about me, I'm very critical about Jewish supremacy because I do think there is a very potent Jewish supremacist force in America. And if you don't believe this, all you have to do is look at our foreign policy with Israel, right? Like you see, this is where they put a divide and conquer kind of thing, right? If you're a leftist, you know, you fall into certain categories, supposed to be pro every other race.
Right.
And those guys can criticize Israel because they're a white colonial power, right? Or whatever. If you're on the right, you could be all anti the races and all this stuff, but you got to be pro-Israel. And if you somehow are mixed between those, you're without a home because they need this warring thing going on.
Right.
Okay, so the funny thing about this is that she's like, the exact opposite is true, sort of, right? Which is that for both the legacy medias left and right, but also like the Democrat and Republican Party, Israel represents different things that both add up to the same, well, that all add up to the same thing, which is that you get to trick your audience into not realizing that you're supporting the military-industrial complex. Because Israel is just another, perhaps the last veneer of our like conglomerate of military-industrial complex, neocon, neoliberal overlords that rule us. Because at the end of the day, the Halliburtons and the Lockheed Martins and the Black Rocks and all those people, they would much rather you blame like Jewish people for what's wrong with society than you blame billionaires for it, than you blame like the special interest groups that run our society. And so in some ways, the Jewish identity of Israel is like the final safeguard against like real condemnation of the military-industrial complex, because it allows for both Democrats and Republicans to like immunize themselves from critiques of celebrating war in the Middle East, celebrating destabilization in the Middle East. Because for liberals, it becomes difficult for you to extricate, the Jewish identity that you feel so that you want to preserve, because learning about the Holocaust, learning about the marginalizations of Jewish people throughout Europe and the world historically, you don't want to be responsible for the furtherance of anti-Semitism by criticizing the Jewish state. And, Republicans, right-wingers, they hate Muslims. They're Christian Zionists a lot of the times. Like, it's an easier sell for them. The biggest issue with, convincing Republicans is that a lot of them are much more explicitly now anti-Semitic. And so for decades, it was just a very useful vehicle for the military-industrial complex and for the neocons to get everyone on board with their project of destabilizing the Middle East. Because instead of saying, I support destabilizing the Middle East, you can say, I support Israel. And then your base will like replace Israel for whatever thing that they think is immunized from criticism that they believe, right? Okay, well, Israel's the Jewish state, so I don't want to seem anti-Semitic. Or Israel is like the light of God in the region. Some whatever Christian Zionists believe. It's hard to know at this point. And so it represented a very useful like construct for a lot of people. And then for that military-industrial complex, at the end of the day, anti-Semitism is so common in the West that before anyone goes, this is the fault of Lockheed Martin, this is the fault of the billionaires who make money off of war, the Palantirs, before anyone does any of that, they will go, this is because of Jewish people. This must be because of Jewish people. It's not because of all of the people who I idolize getting rich of this, because I idolize the very act of getting rich. This must be because of a marginalized group that, like, well, yeah, you know what? Like, we've been taught we shouldn't hate, but it does seem weird that they believe things that are different than I am. And so, you know, Jewish people are having their identity held hostage, not just by Israel, but by like the United States, United States, Israeli, you know, Western Europe complex of special interest groups that, you know, make money from destabilizing the Middle East. Like the neocons who think that the world is safer when this happens, they have no problem throwing, you know, Jewish people under the bus for that reason. And this is why, because instead of accepting that the very incentives of capitalism encourage stuff like this, instead of people accepting that Epstein, you know, wasn't working antagonistically to stuff like this or for whatever thing that you hate about the United States government now, he was working in favor of all the things that you loved about the U.S. before you realized that they didn't deliver things to you personally. Like, instead of accepting all of those things that, like, you know, the things that you want are implicated in this particular element, like, you know, like the capitalism you love is implicated by what's happening now, it's just Jewish people. And that's a lot easier for racists to believe. It's a lot easier for the Americans to believe. And so, you know, it's not anything like suspicious other than the fact that, like, there are a lot of people who know that before criticizing rich people, people will just choose to be anti-Semitic.
But when every single Republican starts talking about how we have to support Israel and we have to send tons of money to Israel,
they mean war.
When our
they just
own country is falling apart.
If you just replace Israel with war, it all makes sense. If you just replace, like, we have to spend more money on war, if you just replace the word Israel with war, it all makes a lot more sense. Or military industrial complex. It makes everything makes a lot more sense because that's a lot more transparent.
I mean, you drive around these roads in California.
Oh, man.
I thought we were paying taxes so we can have roads. What people don't realize is the federal government gives, I think has given something like $300 billion of tax dollars to Israel.
To war.
But it's not just the federal government. Every state gives a portion of its taxes to Israel.
To war.
Not just every state, Jesse. Every city. So recently, the city of San Marcos did an audit, and they saw that they were giving San Marcos, very small city in Texas.
Oh, okay.
Saw that they were giving $4.4 million tax dollars of their residents' tax dollars to Israel, and they were like, "Well, wait a second. Our residents don't have health care. Our roads are falling apart. We'd like to take this money and repair our roads." Well, Governor Abbott, who's supposed to be a Republican, supposed to be pro-America, said, this is anti-Semitic. They didn't say anything anti-Semitic. They just said we want to repair our roads. We don't want to give it to a foreign government, which seems like any national country would have that agenda, right? And he said you're going to be defunded for these other programs that you get from the state. I'm actually
curious to see if she can beat him in a debate, because she's taking the anti-Israel opinion. And while I don't agree with everything that she's saying, because I think it's like a lot of things. Republicans, reactionaries, which generally describe a lot of Americans, they confuse correlation for causation, and they're having an element of this puzzle obscured for them, either directly by our government that is uniformly neoconservative, except for like a few standouts in both parties, right? That you can, like I said, count on basically two hands. And their own internal bias. They're having like the fact that like this is just a function of like the capitalism that they love. This is a function of like the America that they claim to love, but they just don't fully understand how it works. This is all in service of that stuff. It's not in service of Israel in any like, you know, way that's unique from being in service of America. It's all just an America, but they can't accept that. It all has to be about some deep state, some external power that's glommed onto this pure American soul, this like soul of a pure America, or if not pure, because some people are sophisticated enough to know how stupid it sounds when they say America's pure, but America is trying its best, but is not being impeded by the worst impulse of its own politicians or the citizenry that ultimately support a lot of the structures until they come to like eat them, right? Until those structures come for them, they support them because they've been taught that they enrich them, you know, that they've been taught that it makes them better than other people. So they support the things that lead to this. They just don't support the outcomes. And ensuring that people confuse correlation for causation is important to ensuring that they keep doing stuff like that. Having said all that, though, she's still taking an antagonistic position to Jesse Lee Peterson, and he's basically like 2-0 when it comes to debates. So I'm interested to see if actually having to debate this lady in front of him will mean that he actually like loses this time, because Jesse Lee Peterson is such an effective like debater. So he's quietly listening now to this particular, I guess, argument, and I wonder if he's going to be able to like mind flood her at the end of this.
So tell me how that would make sense. Do we do that with any other government?
Well, we should take care of home first all the time.
All
anyway.
the time. But if you say that, you're called anti-Semitic, because to me, it's the same thing as when you say, hey, black people, you should take responsibility for your life. You're called racist. If you tell women, hey, men are not your enemy and you would probably be happier taking care of your kids, they're like, you're a misogynist.
Right.
If you say, hey, gay people really shouldn't be married or put on the forefront of covers, they call you homophobic.
Yeah.
So these are all attacks meant
She's-
to shut down intelligent conversation.
Absolutely. That's true.
Wait, so
So
you're saying that?
I don't think
So you're saying
white people
racism
should sit
exists then?
around and cry about how the Jews have ruined everything, because once again, that's a very disempowering take. And then what are you going to do about it? So I'll say the same thing to them. Okay, let's say you're right. And there's a lot that they're right about. The Jews have taken over your institutions. They're pushing for a pro-Israel stance over pro-America. There's a lot of your funding that's been taken from you. Now what? What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Because sitting there and crying isn't going to change anything.
I say the same thing. I'm like, okay, let's assume that you're right, as you just said. What happened that you allowed that to happen? That you would let someone else come into your country and take over like that, the first thing. And why not do something about it rather than just complaining about it? It's okay to see the problem, but why not get up and do something about it rather than, oh, I can't make it? Because in reality, real reality, no one can hold you back in life but you. As an adult, you are in control of your own life. Well, most people are not, but they're supposed to be. But I want to know, Israel is our ally, the only ally in
the Middle
over
East.
there in that world, right?
Supposedly they're our greatest ally,
right.
but there's a lot of behavior that's happened from them that would suggest not very ally behavior.
They don't like us?
No, they don't.
They don't like us?
No, I don't. No, they don't.
But
that's the truth. I
Really?
know that's going to offend a lot of people because you have a conservative audience who, again, is caught in this paradigm.
Right.
They don't. All you have to do is look up the USS Liberty that happened, I think it was like 1965, where Israel bombed an American ship that they knew was an American ship. It was verified that they knew it was an American ship. They saw the American flag. And after they bombed it, they called in and said, oh, I think it's American or whatever. And they told them, the dispatcher told them, okay, just leave something for our torpedoes to finish. The idea was they were going to finish it off, kill every American on board, and no one would know about it, because the American ship had been collecting intelligence information, and they had collected accidentally, they weren't trying to spy on Israel because they thought it was their ally, but they had collected information that Israel was planning to set up a false flag to attack an American ship and make it look like Egypt did it so that America could go into the war with Egypt.
Amazing.
So there's all this stuff that people don't know about that gets shut out.
And there's so much I want to talk to you about. But
No, I think the problem with learning about the U.S. liberty is that if you don't know about any other pieces of American foreign policy, it does look, I mean, foreign policy. What I mean is like history of American conflict. It does seem like super out of place. But there are tons of like weird things in American military history. Amazing. This clip is kind of boring though. I was hoping for more Jesse Lee Peterson. And also, like, as a comedian, she's not telling a lot of jokes. I can see why they canceled her, though. Punchy TV. Wow. Gosh, maybe we should just watch the Tim Pool clip. I know, I'm tempted now. We'll give it a little taste. We'll give it a little taste. I just don't like that they put his face on it when it's not him in it.
From Reuters, top U.S. general outlines initial timeline of U.S. military operation in Iran. Top U.S. General Dan Raisin Kane, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, on Monday gave an initial timeline and some details on the start of the U.S. military operation in Iran. So far, at the time of the writing, it was 4, but they've actually upped the casualties to 6. U.S. service members have been killed and 4 others remain seriously wounded, the military has said. As of February 27th at 3:38 p.m. Eastern Time, the U.S. Central Command received the final go order from President Donald Trump. Operation Epic Fury is approved. No aborts. Good luck. U.S. forces made final preparations. Air defense batteries check systems to respond to Iranian attacks. Pilots and crews rehearsed strike packages for the final time. Air crews began loading final weapons. 2 carrier strike groups began to move towards launching points. The first moves were made by U.S. Cyber Command and U.S. Space Command, which worked to disrupt, degrade, and blind Iran's ability to see, communicate, and respond before the attack began. February 28th at 1:15 a.m. Eastern Time, which is 9:45 a.m. Iran time, more going on. And first off, we're going to talk about the death toll, because one thing the United States, the American people, don't really take kindly to is Americans coming home in body bags. This is the biggest fear that America has. We're extremely concerned with losing lives. That's what I said last week. The U.S. is generally accepting of airstrikes if there are no casualties. And you can see that kind of the evidence for that in the Venezuela operation. The fact that the U.S. went in, did what it wanted to do. No Americans lost their lives. So the approval rating on that was something like 80% or something. 75% of Americans were like, well, that's okay, you know. But
it is Rumble wallets. Guys, you're tired of people.
Wow. Hard insert of the ads. Hard insert of the ads.
Missile strike. I believe it was the a U.S. Navy installation in Saudi Arabia, I think, and that's where 6 U.S. service members died. So I'm wondering what you guys think about that. You know, the fact that this is already off to a start where there are Americans that have died.
Well, I mean, I think Trump said he's now saying it's going to be 4 weeks roughly, and it just, whenever I hear these things coming from anybody in the government, it goes straight back to that. Okay, it's 2 weeks to slow the spread. All right, it's 4 weeks to save your grandma. Right? It's the same thing, and so
yeah, it's just like
I
viral
what you're
transmission.
saying, though, is that when you've got potentially boots on the ground, which means...
Well, I don't know about that. And the reason, and I'm going to push back on that just because if you look back at the way that we staged before the invasion of Iraq, if you look back at the way that we staged before the first Desert Storm, it was obvious that there were going to be boots on the ground. The United States doesn't send in ground forces unless there's a Burger King in a trailer right behind them. The logistics are just not there to say that
that was a good one.
That there's going to be boots on the ground. Now, that's not saying
McDonald's now, though,
that there
sure.
won't be. That's saying that as of right now, talking about boots on the ground is too early. You would see a massive buildup of logistics before you could realistically predict. Actually, you would see some logistics starting to move before you could realistically predict boots on the ground. Now, again, I'm not saying that it won't happen. I'm just saying that I think that it's early to talk about that kind of stuff.
Well, and off your initial point, I mean, with the story, the 6 service members were killed in Kuwait at a base there, and that actually kind of steelmans a little bit what Marco Rubio was saying today about how this strike was actually kind of more preemptive in the sense that they were going to attack us anyway, so we might as well strike first. And this is why I say this kind of steelmans it to a degree, is because the casualties would have been far higher if we didn't anticipate an attack occurring coming from Iran. Again, this is not to sort of say one way or the other if this is a good idea. I certainly don't think so, but the idea, people are saying this is like the service members were killed during the operation. It was actually killed by Iranians striking in Kuwait.
All right, we gave it a try. But it wasn't gripping me. I'm sorry. I know that makes me seem fickle, but, you know, I'm already off kilter. Because I don't have everything that I like to have in front of me. Oh. Sorry, I read a thumbnail that was terrible from Jesse Lee Peterson. Let's see what's on your guys' minds before we move to the next clip. Follow your gut. No, I shouldn't, because I'm still having indigestion from being sick. Yeah, they were anticipating an attack from Iran in retaliation for the U.S. attack on Iran. Like that's what Pete Hegseth said. He said that we were going to get retaliated against after Israel, who is the United States, attacks. Yeah, they should put little chyrons under each of Tim's guests, because I don't know who any of them are. I guess you can say, though, that all that remained when Tim is gone is boredom. It's so hard to decide. I just feel like we don't have enough time for the Clinton Jeffrey Epstein stuff today, since we got a late start. Hopefully the YouTube stuff will be resolved by tomorrow. No, I can't do any Candace today. I know I said I don't want to fall behind, but I just don't. No Caitlin Bennett. She's so bad at interviewing people. I just can't take it. Okay. YouTube trying to mess with week 2 of Brandon's birthday. Candace is still in the history of Erica's family. Oh, gosh. Oh, that first video was so terrible. How long till Candace claims she can do that Matrix information download trick they do in films to learn Kung Fu in a second? I mean, I hope not too long. Alex Jones, that's an interesting idea. I wonder. I finally remember that guy's band name. I feel so proud of myself. I'm not at a loss for words. I just feel as though, like, without all of the stuff I'm used to, without all the YouTube stuff I'm used to, I feel off kilter. Ooh, okay. All right. Okay, yeah. I think Alex Jones looks fun. I've been getting a lot of weird YouTube recommendations too. I hope I benefit from that though. All right. Okay. So maybe we'll watch the latest episode of the Alex Jones show. Alex Jones, this is from, I guess, Sunday, because it hasn't come out yesterday, I suppose. Iran confirms the Ayatollah is dead. Iran has U.S. sleeper cells. I wonder how that goes. No.
And but now North Korea survived. Gaddafi gave up his weapons program, and they came and killed him. Hillary Clinton did. I saw he died. And of course, the West has been involved back to the British 130 years ago, destabilizing the Middle East, creating these modern countries, setting them up so they'd be divided along unnatural lines. It's called the Great Game: divide and conquer, balkanization. And they've done it in India, the Balkans, the Middle East, everywhere. And you see the globalists in the West trying to divide all of us on every other issue as well. You just saw the West, before Trump got in 14, 15 months ago, overthrow Assad after 15 years trying and put al-Qaeda in charge. Then they murdered the Christians that were left. So I'm just saying that regime change is a very nasty, nasty business. Trump ran on not doing regime change. J.D. Vance ran on it. I've got clips of him. And
so is he going to actually criticize them for this? I will say, in my opinion, I think it's good to criticize the Trump administration for everything that they do, basically, because they're terrible. But I do think it would be really weird to start criticizing them for this, but to have spent so much airtime defending them over the Epstein stuff, right? Does that not feel weird to you? To go oh no, I'm okay with the whole pedo cabal shit, but I draw the line at the invasion of Iran. I mean, I guess it's good to have a line, and you can't just say that everything's great, but he was what happened? You were riding so hard for him. I would just be surprised, right? I would just be surprised. He was riding him so hard over the Epstein stuff. He was jumping in front of the criticism. So this being something that he criticizes him for, I don't know. I'm surprised.
This is the breaking of a promise here.
Okay.
And Trump's not been a big breaker of promises. You may disagree with some of his policies, but at least he tries to follow through with what he said.
Okay.
He said never let him have a nuclear weapon. Now they're saying we want regime change, you must leave. And I'm not trying to defend the mullahs. I'm just saying, you don't tell us no more regime change that we've seen the CIA do and many times put worse people in on purpose, and then you turn around and say, oh, no, this is a great thing. And then the mullahs may hang on, folks. They may block the Strait of Hormuz. They're already attacking ships out there trying to sink them. I think if they wanted to, they could. They're just sending a message that they could. That happens. I've got a breakdown of what most experts believe will happen coming up. But one of my big concerns is Iran has real terror cells around the world, particularly in Europe and in Latin America and in Africa too, and Asia. But they're really also in the United States. No one has the exact numbers, but there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of Shiite men in this country.
Oh, I was going to say terrorists.
It is the most aggressive form of Islam, as you've seen.
Wow.
I don't think anybody denies that, including them. And if the mullahs think they're going down and they give the order to their Hezbollah trained sleeper cells, it will make what the stuff you saw in Mexico in the last few weeks look tame. And it'll be very, very bad. And then, of course, they'll get killed and we'll win. But can you imagine what the government's going to do with that? How many liberties they're going to take from us when they're the ones that let them in to begin with? I'm not losing any of my damn rights when there's a big Muslim uprising in this country and they've got to be dealt with and then the rest shipped out. Okay?
Wow. This took an incredibly racist turn. So, wait, what?
The border's wide open, but you still want to put me into a body scanner and grab my balls at the airport. It's slave training. It's humiliation ritual. I'm not against the TSA people as individuals, but the thing is horse crap.
The fondling balls.
Profile, run background checks. They're already doing.
I will say, not to make light of the situation, but if they're doing that to him, he should probably file a complaint with the TSA. I know I think the government's still shut down, so they're not being paid, I don't think. But I don't think they should be allowed to take tips in this way from Alex Jones. That shouldn't be part of the job. So he should file a complaint with management. If they're doing that to him, he should file a complaint. 'Cause they don't do that to me when I go through the airport. They just say you're clean.
And pull people out that are suspicious. 1 out of 1,000. Leave me and my children and my testicles and my wife's breast alone. Okay?
He's not married anymore. His wife left him, probably for stuff like this, amongst the other things. But yeah, like I do think that if the TSA is being objective, if they're not racially profiling people and actively looking for suspicious people, I think Alex Jones being like sorted out of line makes a lot of sense. I don't believe this is happening. I'm just saying that like if the TSA objectively were like looking at a crowd of people and they're like, let's search that guy, and it was Alex Jones, I would think that whatever training they're getting to determine who's suspicious would be a lot better than I would have suspected, because Alex Jones is crazy suspicious now.
All about slavery. It's all about biometrics. It's all about slave training.
Okay. So so I'm not 100% like antagonistic to what he's saying, right? Because when things ramp up overseas, when the United States participates or like engages in imperialism overseas, it is often accompanied with the erosion of our rights at home, right? It may not seem like that, but especially when it comes to us destabilizing the Middle East, like you saw with the Patriot Act, like the blowback is used as an excuse to perpetuate the cycle of imperialism and also erosion of domestic civil rights, because it becomes, once there is an attack, if there is an attack by a terrorist on American soil, either because of this particular element of our Middle East policy or all of the other bad things that we do, it becomes easy to convince a population that doesn't really understand the way, like, American foreign policy, incentivizes these things, that they should give up more of their rights to prevent stuff like this from happening. They should support more war, which is the only way to prevent stuff like this from happening, when ultimately that stuff just makes it more likely it will happen, at least in the short term, right? And so his analysis is, I guess, on point. However, I do disagree with decentering the people of Iran, obviously, who are the direct and most direct victims of the American imperialist project. It's not about like the erosion, or not totally about the erosion of rights at home. It'd be great if Americans understood that there were personal stakes for them when it comes to this sorts of things, but like it should also not take there being personal stakes for Americans at home to realize that like it's not good to bomb countries indiscriminately, and also like participate in some kind of mass deportation regime against Shiite Muslims because they might be radicalized by the destabilization of their country at the hands of the American government.
Now I'm going to start running through this and the different scenarios of it most experts believe would trigger a wider war. That's why Eric Prince, a big hawk, said don't do it. That's why Raisin Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, was like, well, I'm advising against it, but we've got a plan. Publicly saying, well, I'm advised against it. Yeah, because it's rolling the dice. I'll tell you, though, on the other side of the coin, watching what we did with Maduro and now this and the rest of the world's watching, China and Russia are watching, and Russia's like, okay, we're ready and prepared to accept U.S. security guarantees for Ukraine. That means not NATO, that means not the globalist, but the U.S. will guarantee the deal, and the U.S. will put a security umbrella over it and keep NATO out. I mean, that is a big deal right there. By the way, NATO has nothing. They don't have the eye in the sky. They don't have the C-130s, the coordination. Nobody does. The Russians and Chinese do to a certain extent, maybe a tenth of our capability. But also with that great power is great responsibility. So people drooling, oh, look at the bombers.
Could you imagine if Alex Jones was Uncle Ben? Like, could you imagine if Alex Jones was Peter Parker's uncle and he was the one who raised him? Like, how fucked up Spider-Man the comic book would be? That would be an amazing comic book.
Look, oh, it's so wonderful. Even if you think this war is good, don't drool over it, okay? It's dangerous. A lot of people are getting killed. And pride goes before fall. Don't tempt fate.
Don't tempt fate.
I got a lot of headline examples of this, just fawning and music videos, and everyone's celebrating, and it's ridiculous. Ha, 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 ha. We got the moolah. Yeah. How about the folks at the nightclub last night? 18 people shot, 3 dead, 15 wounded, some in critical condition. And, of course, the media tried to suppress it. It was Islamicists from an Islamicist country.
Islamicists.
I looked up Senegal, 97% Muslim, Shiite. One of the main groups, yeah. He said he's a Shiite. The feds are in his house here in Austin or outside Austin. in the suburbs. It's not just a Quran in his car. It's not just a shirt saying, "On the property of Allah." No, it's his internet information. Confirmed terrorist angry about the Ayatollah being killed. And they're deciphering the notes that he wrote.
Deciphering the notes. I mean, it's hard to disaggregate these kinds of mass shootings from any other type of mass shooting in the United States, right? Because people always want to focus on the proximate cause of the mass shooting, like the thing that supposedly like radicalized the person. But the thing that usually radicalizes people in America is like their material conditions and the social alienation that they feel by nature of America being like a hyper individualistic society that does not integrate anyone well anymore, but certainly not if you are outside of the most valued class of people, the uber wealthy, the white, etc. And so America creates the conditions by which people find the things that radicalize them ultimately, right? America like creates the conditions and then also arms those people and then wants to focus on like, oh yeah, but like what were they watching online? Like what was that like final part of the thing that they were watching online? Not even, acknowledging that the thing that they were watching online is probably also a function. The popularity of that thing or the existence of that thing is probably also a function of a toxic American culture. Like when it's like inceldom, it's like, okay, but that's such a thing rooted in the current state of American culture and how deeply alienated and lacking opportunities it has left an entire generation of people. So it's not like distinct from where America is as a whole, even if it's being like acutely embraced by a group of people. What else is going on in this video? More Iranians?
The people of Iran from Anglo-American Oil, the British oil company. And they said...
Alex Jones is such a long-winded guy. How long does he still have his show, you think?
They want to put burqas on our women, folks. It's so incompatible. It's so crazy. And the left being allied with it is so bizarre.
What?
So I would love to wave a magic wand and get rid of the mullahs and all of them and have them reform. But the West leadership always says they want to fix the problem, but they use the problem to keep the wars going, to destabilize the world, and then flood us with Muslims. Then they launch terror attacks, and then we lose our rights, and we have a police state set up here for us. So here's Lindsey Graham on Meet the Press, and he's asked, well, what's the plan? He says, well, we really don't have a plan. It's not up to us to have a plan. Okay, so you could go wreck a country, and a lot of your experts say it could get worse, and you're just like, that's not our problem. We are preemptively blowing a country to pieces. I mean, there's new footage out from the latest attacks where it's just horizon to horizon, giant mushroom clouds. They're just leveling everything. The government buildings, the military buildings, all of that. And not a good look to have the United States attacking countries. And sure, Iran attacks us with proxies, and yeah, they fire missiles at Israel after they're openly attacked. The point is, again, it's a big roll of the dice. Here's Lindsey Graham. Then I want to go to a couple of years ago when Trump's running for president with J.D. Vance saying, oh no, both of them said this. We might stop their nuclear program, but we're not going to, go to war with Iran. Here it is.
Moving forward, in a social media post Sunday, President Trump wrote this, quote, hopefully the IRGC and police will peacefully merge with the Iranian patriots and work together as a unit to bring back the country to the greatness it deserves. Is hope the plan for the future of Iran?
No, the future of Iran is going to be determined by the Iranian people. The new Iran, whatever it is, whether it's a cleric or a representative democracy, our goal is to make sure it cannot become, again, the largest state sponsor of terrorism. That's a win for us.
But is there a plan to make sure that happens, Senator? Is there a plan? Does the president have a plan to guarantee that that happens?
No, it's not his job or my job to do this. How many times do I have to tell you? Our job is to make sure Iran is no longer the largest state sponsor of terrorism, to help the people reconstruct a new government, no boots on the ground. We don't own, this idea you break it, you own it. I don't buy that one bit.
I don't buy that one bit. I get to break whatever I want, and then you're responsible for fixing it. And if you fix it in such a way that I don't like, I'll break it again. And if you do anything as reprisal for all that breaking, I'm going to play the victim and break it some more. And then that's just the way things are, because I'm Lindsey Graham. It's a child's understanding of the world, because it just makes it. The reason they can say stuff like this is because Americans don't understand that this makes their lives a lot more dangerous. Like the way Alex Jones is describing, ultimately, it makes their lives a lot more dangerous. This does not prevent them or make it less likely that they are the victims of a terrorist attack, either while they're in Israel or in Dubai going to Mr. Beast World or Mr. Beast World, Tel Aviv, wherever is being built. I don't know. It makes them more likely to be the victims of terrorism. Maybe not right now, but in the future. That's why they're trying to expand those AI tools. But there's no amount of AI tools, there's no amount of like technology that you can create that will totally prevent blowback, right? There is an amount that you can create that will like mitigate it, right? And part of that mitigation is what we're seeing in the Middle East right now. We just have a bunch of targets in neighboring Arab states that make a lot more sense practically to attack, which makes our allies in the region, our proxies in the region. We call them allies because, like, you know, calling them proxies makes us sound like a terrorist state, but it is what it is. We coat the region in proxies so that we can avoid having attacks on our soil that disincentivize our population from wanting to do war, while still claiming to be the victims of attacks in such a way that our population will like think justify going to war. But I guess in this case, you know, it's too soon from Iraq, too soon from Afghanistan, too soon from Venezuela, and also people are already like, you know, not very excited about Israel. And so I don't think it's working this time, but that is the theory, right? That like we have a series of targets in the Middle East and proxy nations for us that can act as like bullet sponges for the United States while still acting as a justification for us going to war. But no one wants to go to war with Iran because they know how costly it'll be and how terrible it'll be. And so it's just not, you know, it's not going to work this time.
It's in America's interest to make sure the Ayatollah is dead. He's dead.
You have a looming potential.
Okay, but this like Alex Jones clip is boring. You know, I need a palate cleanser, something unrelated to Iran. So you know what that means? It's time for some cloning. Time for some cloning. We've done a lot of police DUIs. I got to give the well a chance to refill itself. Yeah, cloning. Because a lot of you have been asking questions about, a lot of people have been asking questions about Jim Carrey that I think that we can answer using the help of one of our friends, our longtime friends. This is from Elizabeth April. It's her latest video. I remote viewed the truth behind the new Jim Carrey. Introduction and favorite movies. Hell yeah. Okay, perfect.
About a man that I think was so loved by so many individuals.
Oh shit. And like Jim Carrey's Canadian just like her. So it's going to be really like, we're going to see some real identity politics.
Good old Jim Carrey. And you know, one of my favorite movies of all time is
What Jim Carrey movie do you think is her favorite? I'm going to guess that she's a classic conspiracy person, and it's the Truman Show, because conspiracy people love the Truman Show. What do you think? The Truman Show, of course. Liar Liar is goated, but like no, I think it's gonna be a Truman Show. The Grinch, The Mask. Yeah, she should hit The Mask. I like the number 23, one of my favorite Jim Carrey movies. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. That's what she should say. Batman Forever. Bruce Almighty. Okay, we're going to see.
The Truman Show.
Of course. Easy. It's always the Truman Show.
And I highly recommend, if you haven't watched it, please go watch it for the sake of Jim Carrey. And on top of that, my second favorite movie is called The Congress. Highly recommend, you guys. The Congress was made a long time ago. And it is coming to life. It is coming true right now. It's pretty wild, right? Okay. So I remote viewed Jim Carrey. Now, we're going to get into it. It's pretty intense. There's some really touching and surprising parts to what I saw. I will say that there's a video I've been wanting to do for a long time, and it is, it's like a really big undertaking for me, and I just have not had the energy. I'm in the middle of a book tour still. So yeah, there's a video that I want to do, and it's essentially about, have you ever seen those videos online where people are talking about how, like, this person from history looks the same as this actor in present day?
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen those videos, but there's a lot of them, and they are very eerily similar looking individuals.
I guess. Some of them
I'm trying to think. There's a guy on an American bill, and he looks like Epstein, I believe, but don't quote me on that. I'm just trying to think of like all the comparisons. I'm so bad with names.
Like a dollar bill? Like the people like on the money? I don't think that's true. Although it would be crazy if I pulled out like a 20 for the first time and it was just like dead ass Jeffrey Epstein. Like, could you Andrew Jackson, like you pull out a $20 bill and then you look at it for like the first time, you're like, damn, it does look like Jeffrey Epstein. And it's just like that one image of him that you always see of him like smiling, like
names.
And on the back it's like Trump. And you're like, whoa, has it always been like this? Like straight up Mandela effect. Yeah, you're like, shit.
Okay, so that being said, sort of my thinking is it time travel? Is it reptilian bloodlines? Is it body snatching? Is it cloning back in the day? I don't think so. I'm not sure, but like, what is
Yolos,
it?
Nos
So
Todos?
there's
What?
something there that I want to explore. There's something there that the elites have the ability to do that I just want to know more of. Like, do they just live a really long life? Like, I don't know. I don't know what it is. Anyway, so we're going to get into that. That's going to be in my upcoming videos. If you guys haven't subscribed to the channel, obviously do that now. On top of that, you guys, a lot of you don't know and realize that I have a membership platform on my website, and if you sign up, you get access to thousands of videos over the past 10 years. I'm not even kidding. Since 2016, I have been producing content.
She's not kidding, and I don't mean to plug her own channel. I've been meaning to do it too, but I think the ethics of showing you stuff that's behind a paywall on her website is a little spotty. But I will say that on her membership platform, she has the live remote viewings of the Galactic Council, and so it does make me want to show it to you because it's what it sounds like. She remote views live the Galactic Council, and so I have been thinking of subscribing. However, I think her membership is like $25 a month. It's like some crazy, last time I checked, it's like some crazy amount of money. But I guess the dollar is not what it used to be. Maybe it's Canadian dollars.
On reptilians, on clones, on the Illuminati, on conspiracies, on aliens, on dimensions, on quantum mechanics, on you name it, it is in there, okay? If you're interested in this stuff, you are going to want to go there and binge watch all of it, because my YouTube channel has 1% of what I have talked about for years, guys. All right, so go check that out after this. Also, every single month on the membership, we release a brand new astrology prediction video for the month. March is wild already. We're only March 2nd, and it's just been insane. So Asha talks a lot about just the astrology and what to expect. March is going to be a very crazy astrological month.
She's doing fine.
February
I guarantee she's doing better than I am on these
platforms. On that.
She probably makes crazy
and then also
money.
Coming up in March, so every month now,
she deserves it. She's good at this. I can't deny it. Better her than like Candace for sure.
Coming up later in the year, we have Britney Spears, Justin Bieber, Barack Obama, and Michelle Obama. There's a lot of interesting Kim Jong-un. We have a lot of interesting remote views coming up. So yeah. Check out the membership, sign up, binge watch, and then anticipate all the videos to come. This coming March,
you could never finish all the videos on her channel.
A remote view with Greta Thunberg, who is sort of that young spokesperson on behalf of like
climate
change. I was really curious about her. There's a lot of
I like how she's so true to never looking anyone up before, like, because she always remote views these people, but she knows like less than the average person about them, like, because she doesn't look into them at any point. But yeah, I keep wanting to skip this part, but like it keeps drawing me in. Condolences and public speaking. Who died? You think there's gonna be a condolence like to Ayatollah Khamenei in this?
Okay, how do I even begin this video? Obviously, my condolences, right, to Jim Carrey and to his family and to his fans. I have a certain level of personal appreciation as to what's happening.
He's alive though,
because
right?
It's sparking.
He's not even that old even.
The internet.
I mean, you could die at any age
with theories, right? With questioning. And I have to personally feel really grateful for that because people are finally starting to question the narrative and wake up a little bit, right?
Okay.
Like it is going viral. Like Jim Carrey is going viral for not being himself.
It's called
Thank God.
cosmetic surgery.
Right? Like, I can't believe Miley Cyrus didn't do it with the eyebrows and the cheeks. I mean, we speculate, right? But like, holy. Fascinating.
You can't even draw your eyebrows on different.
Oh my God, YouTube has done this to me again.
Me and you, April.
I deleted the app, I re-downloaded it, I updated it, I did all the things.
Too close to the truth.
YouTube keeps kicking me out of my live streams.
Yeah,
this is probably, if you guys know, the third or fourth time it has kicked me out in the past month or two. So I'm glad I got to go right back in. If it kicks me out again, guys, please just watch for a brand new stream called Elizabeth April's Live. And then you're gonna have to watch part
Solidarity
one,
with Elizabeth April. Like it's,
I don't know why it does that. I mean,
when you're a truth seeker and a truth teller, Elizabeth April, and Brandon Sutton Brandon, they kick you right off. The platform is not meant for truth. It's meant for obfuscation.
But do I know? I don't know.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness.
Exactly.
Okay.
I don't know either.
What was I about to say? So, yeah.
Jim Carrey's dead.
People are starting to question. People are starting to wake up. And here's how I remote view an individual. I think a lot of people assume remote viewers go to a targeted location, which is totally a thing as well. So every individual, every person has a frequency. And when you say that person's name as a frequency, you go directly to that individual. And so I go to that person's or that individual's essence or soul essence, you could call it. And that's how I do it. I do not remote view anyone without their explicit permission. You'll see that in my remote viewing videos on my membership. I go through the process of explaining how I get their permission and stuff. So I won't go through all of that today. But anyway, so when I remote view Jim Carrey, I did not go to a body. Okay, surprise, surprise.
Okay.
I went to the afterlife, I guess you could call it. And there he was as a soul. I asked him if he would be interested in talking to me about everything that happened, and he said that he would.
Would you be interested in talking to me about the making of Ace Ventura 2, Spirit of Jim Carrey? Because I have some questions about the artistic decisions.
Exactly what happened with Charlie Kirk and Erica Kirk.
Exactly.
Surprise, surprise.
Were they there too?
Both of their souls were on the other side. Okay.
Oh. Not with him though.
And so they did take him out, basically. And
why?
What he goes into is fascinating. So I have basically my questions to him are in blue, and then his response verbatim from what I heard from him are in pink. Okay. So this is what he said right off the bat. This is what he said right away. He said, "They came for me. I knew they would. He said, I stopped playing their game a long time ago. This is interesting. And let's talk about this for a second. I think they kept me around because I was a valuable asset, which is an interesting way to put it, but also with specific talent that they couldn't replace.
Like that thing he did with his face?
Just let that sink in. With actors, actresses, with, musicians.
I mean, look, no one loves Me, Myself, and Irene more than I do, or Dumb and Dumberer, or any of that stuff. But to say, like, it's irreplaceable is kind of crazy. I mean, great movies for sure. Like, who didn't love Bruce Almighty? But, like, I mean, you could find another Dr. Robotnik. I'm sorry, they still call him Eggman now. He's always going to be Dr. Robotnik to me. Low-key, they changed his name because Robotnik was too ethnic, and that was like, anti-Polish discrimination. But he's always going to be Dr. Robotnik to me. But they could find another Dr. Robotnik for sure. For sure.
Right? Typically, we see replacements sort of at the end of someone's career. They're not going to keep acting. They're not going to keep singing. Maybe they do. Maybe they do like a voiceover, concert or something. I don't know how they do it. Jim Carrey is explicitly stating,
Eggman's offensive to Northern Lion,
that he didn't play by their rules for a long time now. And they couldn't replace his talent. Like, they couldn't replace him. Even if he doesn't act again, they just couldn't replace him. And funny enough, like, he knew that. He knew that. And here we are. They tried to. And so then the other question, too, is, like, what did they replace him with, right? Is it a clone? Is it a mask? Is it good makeup? Is it an actor, right? A lookalike? It could be anything. Actor. I've seen the gamut. I've seen them take individuals, right? And I've seen them MK Ultra, brainwashed. So it's the same person. It's just like they're all drugged up and sort of programmed or whatever, reprogrammed, I guess. I've seen this organization do everything you can imagine to keep their hold over that poor pawn, okay? So a couple things that I want to state, just backtracking a little bit.
Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey did sign contracts. I don't think so I just kind of saw his life a little bit. He signed contracts with this sort of shadowy government organization a long time ago. I know it's disappointing to hear, but also if you take a look at his fame and influence, it's not super surprising. Also, if you look at him speaking out against the Illuminati, not surprising. So they kept me around because I was valuable. Okay. Is there anything else that I wanted to say about him that I saw before I get into the conversation? Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. So, is it a mask? Is it an actor? I'm so sorry. Is it an actor? Is it a clone? I did verify that it was a clone and that they have been planning this for quite some time. So they were initiating or programming the clone for quite some time, at least 6 months before this award ceremony. This award ceremony was supposed to be the coming out of the clone, right? And and they were kind of thinking that if a whole room of celebrities could accept Jim Carrey for what he looked like or whatever, like if he could pass in this award ceremony, and of course they didn't bring him to the Grammys, or they brought him to France, and they thought no one would really talk about it in the States. If he could be accepted by, this room full of people, then maybe he could be accepted by the world, right? And I can't believe that they just fudged up so badly. So that was that. So definitely a clone. It wasn't a mask. It was not an actor. It was just a really bad sort of copy is what I see. And Jim Carrey had 3 clones.
You know what's crazy? 3-clone Jim Carrey. Great name for a Jim Carrey movie, right? Or great idea for a Jim Carrey vehicle. Like, I could definitely imagine a movie like in the 90s, like maybe like not too past Jim Carrey's prime, but like maybe around the time of Liar Liar, where like the whole premise is that there are 3 Jim Carreys, right? That would have been like a prime Jim Carrey thing to do. I'm surprised they never made that.
So there's like 2 that are like still in like a
that
stasis or whatever. I don't know what it is. Then there's something else I want to mention. So there's a guy online right now who does makeup. He's like a makeup artist.
Okay.
And what he'll do is he will he'll put a bunch of makeup on or prosthetic face things, and he'll say that that he's like some woman or some actor, and he'll go out on the street as that actor, right, and pretend to be them and like kind of get away with it. And so this guy, this makeup artist, is saying that was me. I was Jim Carrey. I did it. I did the thing. I put on the mask, right?
Whoa.
Oh my God. So it dawned on me as I'm like in the remote view that this guy, this makeup artist, is a like a psyop, I guess it's called. Essentially, like this guy is being paid, okay, to create these fake doubles. Right? Maybe he was just makeup artist for fun at first, but he then signed contracts and got in and like kind of got famous because of this, because he signed contracts with them, and the Illuminati knew that they could use him to play this thing, right? To basically fake it if anyone were to really question. So that was a whole psyop operation, I guess, that I discovered. I was like, wow, okay, so this guy is being paid off to say it. Just to sort of put now seeds of doubt in everyone. Oh no, we couldn't get away with the Jim Carrey clone, so it must be a makeup artist, right? So there's that, and then there was something else. What else did I want to mention? Oh my God, my head's all over the place. I've been like just going through some weird sickness this past weekend.
Oh my God, me too. Wow, me and Elizabeth April are so in sync. It's so wild.
What else? There was something else. Oh yeah, okay. It's very similar to, I know this is going to sound weird, but Kim Kardashian dressing up as a reptilian in 2024.
Okay.
I know it just so totally sounds like weird and like random or whatever, but Kim in 2024 for Halloween, Kim Kardashian dressed up, I shit you not, as a giant reptilian being with a tail. The reason why she did this is because to cover the fact that if and when there is a time that she shapeshifts in front of people, the first thing that pops up is her in a giant reptilian costume for Halloween. And
I don't think the internet would be
that's just Kim Kardashian in another reptilian Halloween costume because she likes to do that. I don't know why that feels relevant, but they do this stuff for a reason, to cover their asses, okay?
No way.
They couldn't, oh my God, I can't find my words today. They couldn't get away with Jim Carrey, and Jim Carrey fucking knew it. So, okay, so now let's go into my question and answer with Jim Carrey. And I could have gone on, but honestly, guys, I just haven't been feeling good. Just a lot of like hot flashes and like cold sweats and just weird shit. So
Me too.
I could have
Crazy.
honestly asked so many different
I
questions.
think she probably just has the flu because it's like, the tail end of flu season, and the weather's changing. But like, I don't want to speculate on her health. I think I just have a bit of the flu.
Questions, and I wish I did, but I'm just not feeling great. So one of the first, after he kind of gave me that little spiel at the beginning, one of the first questions I asked was, how do you feel about the life that you lived? He says, I feel mostly satisfied. I brought joy into the hearts of many and tried to push the boundaries as much as I could to wake people up, which he did. I mean, even in some of the films that he did, like they were very sort of eye-opening and allowed people to question. I said, what's one message you would give to people?
Jim Carrey
He
movies?
said, never stop dreaming, never stop believing in yourself, and don't be afraid to push back and have fun along the way. Pretty generic, but that's what he said.
Pretty
I said,
generic.
final thoughts. And this
Final
was
thoughts.
fascinating. He said, if in my death and replacement, people begin to question the narrative, then it was all worth it for me. I think that's pretty profound. If in my death and replacement, people begin to question the narrative, then it was all worth it for me.
Okay.
He also said, it might just be one of my, I laughed at this. He said, it might just be one of the greatest fuck you moments of my career. It's the fact that they tried to kill him off and replace him, and they couldn't. And then he said, okay, last thing. It's not about chasing fame or fortune. It's about what's in here, and he pointed to his heart. And as long as you have a good heart, everything will work out for you in the end. All right, guys. If this information gives you anxiety, please check.
If this information gives you anxiety, I hope this information didn't give you anxiety, folks. It's a way better book plug than they used on for that ad on Tim Pool or what they do for the PBD show. She stuck the landing. She definitely like stuck the landing. All right. Ugh. Time flies when you start an hour late, or I guess an hour and a half late, depending on when you guys are used to me starting. I do feel like I have to apologize again for the YouTube situation. But to be fair, there's nothing I could have done to know that would happen. Ultimately, even if I were aware of the policy, I would have never interpreted it the way that they interpreted it. So I wouldn't have been able to guess that it would be like that. It don't have to be like that, though. But it do. It do. Let's see what's going on. I'm sorry if I seem distracted. I keep checking to see if my ability to stream on YouTube is back. It's not, just so you guys know. All right. I am doing my best, despite everything up against me. Sorry for the inconvenience one last time. I will see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.